The main thing with the vibe shift is that your fleets are generating millions of data points. Now, it's difficult to go through that much of data. Manual coding takes weeks to ship. SQL queries requires entire teams of people looking into different queries. And eventually, like I mentioned with AI fatigue, the human is sometimes the bottleneck, but the human brain is not the bottleneck. What you can think of, you can actually do now and get done. If you look at two different comparisons, the old way was writing every line, knowing the rules and the syntaxes and the code, and debugging line by line. With vibe coding, you are describing the outcome of what you want. So I would like to achieve X with the data that I've got to solve Y problem. You are the architect, and AI is the executor of this. We ship new features much faster. There are more complex questions now that you can actually pose to AI. So you may have a particular unique situation that your specific fleet has, which may not be on a core product line from any telematics company, but you can actually use that problem you have with AI and solve that problem. You don't replace the human, you multiply the effect that that human can bring to the table. We're moving from writing instructions to describing outcomes.
To start using that API, you need to learn how it works. You need to know if you want to get the odometer, you need to know what is the diagnostic for the odometer. Let's say use fuel, you need to know what is the diagnostic for fuel, so there is a learning curve. MyGeotab add-ins is also another nice example of how to use bytecodings. MyGeotab add-ins are basically extensions for MyGeotab to create or to build features that are not natively available in MyGeotab. So you can use the API to build those. The old way, basically the Captain America way. You have the blueprint, which is the SDK. You need to know how to use the ADK, and then you have the syntax. You need to know how to code. The bytecoding way, the Tony Stark way, now you have Jarvis, right? You have Jarvis. You don't need to know how to code. You just tell Jarvis, I want my suit more red. I want this weapon on my shoulder, things like that, right? The blueprint is the prompt. You now tell the AI what do you want, because you know the problem of your fleet, and you have in your mind your outcome or potential outcome. And then you have the vibe. You don't need to code. Basically, the AI is coding that for you, and you are basically curating everything. You are interacting with the AI, but you are not coding. So this bytecoding is closing that gap between you that know the problems and the outcome or the solution. This is a game changing because now 10% of your energy is focused on implementation and 90% of your energy is focused on user experience, solving the problems. So you don't need to worry about a bracket missing on line 42, you just need to worry about the solution. Who are going to win in 2026 are the people who knows or people who understand the fleet's pain points. Now, if you know how to code, if you know your problems, you potentially have the outcome on your mind, and you know how to solve these problems. And the AI is there to close that gap for you.
But what we try to do is we give you the tools, and the AI can leverage these tools and then basically create something which is not yet available in MyGeotab. It is something where you can build on your own, so you don't require our help. Now we can help you, of course. We have an SDK, everything is open, and then it's free to use.
My favorite example is the Google Gemini gem to build add-ins. Come here to mygeotab.com, registration, and you can create a demo database. This is a demo database. They are pretty cool because they even have real-time data. As you know, we have the add-ins. If we go to our gem, we can create an add-in. Let's say we do an add-in that looks at what percentage of my vehicles are EV, and let's look at the fuel if the gas or EV is less than 20%. With Gemini, you can have the thinking mode, which I have right now, or the fast mode. I created instructions for this gem that I have fed it already, so this gem knows how to create add-ins. And here we have an add-in. Thank you. That's how much effort we need to put to build something. I can come into my Geotab, system settings, add-ins. I will allow and verify add-ins because no one has verified this one. And I'm going to paste this code. Save. In this demo database, I have 50 vehicles. None of them are EV. 50 are gas. The fact that I was able to create this, that it's interactive, that it understands my fleet, this add-in infrastructure with the gem that I built here is not only smart enough to give me code back, but it created these two buttons where I get the debug log and I copy debug data so I can feed Gem what's happening. Oh, there I have it. Now I have a list of every vehicle that I have, and I can go here. If we want to make it more professional, we can load Cloud Code or Google Anti-Gravity, etc. I'm going to do it with Cloud Code on the web. Start a new folder, document what this add-in does, and make it a full add-in hosted in this repo. Claude is in charge of programming, and I tell it what I want it to do, and it produces new code. And if I don't like what I see, I keep telling it to produce new code. I just pasted code. I need to understand that this is a live fleet health dashboard that classifies every vehicle as EV or gas size and surfaces any vehicle below 20% battery. These are the features. These are our files, how it determines what the vehicle type is, what's the threshold, what calls it's making. It has a debug panel. How can we extend it? Where do we learn more? And this is the JSON that's more explained. And I can be like, no, don't do a JSON. Self-hosted. Have the pages hosted on GitHub instead. And give me a list of vehicles that I can click with gas percentage. And a test. I'm expanding it, I'm adding tests, I'm documenting it. More people can collaborate with me. And instead of living in a small JSON thing that I can copy paste around, it lives in my repository. I started by one thing created by a gem, and now I decided that's a good project to develop as a team. Now I have something ready to upload to GitHub. So I have the JSON. The most important part is giving the skills to anyone that wants something done, the ability to do it, test it, find that this is what they want, and they can hand it over to who's going to take care of this for the rest of its productive life. How does Claude know all of this? If you go home and you ask questions about Geotab, it will use whatever it knows from the web. It doesn't know all of the details it needed to know to do this. And this is the skills part. In the Geotab skill, it knows how to talk to Geotab. It knows that it has different ways of getting data from Geotab. Through this skill, I'm teaching my LLM what kind of data I can get from each, how each one works. I have a full comparison of which one is faster, what kind of results you can expect. So my LLM knows which one to choose. When you build these kind of skills, you don't want to create a giant document for the LLM because reading too much gets it confused. So I create subchapters. It knows, for example, how to talk to the API, or it knows how to do add-ins. Then is really important too. If I want my add-in to look like the rest of Geotab, I can come to Cloud Code here, and I can tell it, apply the Zen skill. Zen is our framework, how we build MyGeotab, but also we give this framework to anyone that's building on Geotab so they can match the look, the feel, the behavior. Instead of having you learn how to make all of that happen, Zen's skill exists already. It also understands how to use ACE, how to use the data connector, figuring out how to work with vehicle data speed, and figuring out what kind of report I can build that can become a skill. The ones that you're using at work at your place are particular to you. You start having these conversations, you get things that you want, and then you tell Claude, hey, Claude, convert this into a skill. Make it something that's reusable. We can have a long conversation. We can fight the API, the LLM, until we get what we want. Then we create the skill, and the skill is what we share with the rest of the company. Or with the rest of the world, if we put it on GitHub as people did it for the hackathon. Sometimes your problems are not about getting data from Geotab. Sometimes your problem is like, yeah, I got the exact report that I wanted. I know what I wanted to analyze. But now I want to push this data into Salesforce. Or I want to get an email whenever this happens. I want to run this report every 10 minutes, every hour, every day. And if this, then do that. There are many frameworks to do that. One particular open source, free to use, to get started one is N8N. So inside the Geotab Vibe Guide, I have a skill that's all about how do we use N8N with Geotab, how we schedule triggers, requests, etc. And these are all things that you don't need to read because your LLM will know how to read it. So how you build your first fleet agent with NAM, this is the guide for you. This is the whole thing of how do you get all of this automated. My secret to write all of the skills, so if you come here to all the skills I have created here inside for Geotab and others, it's not like I wrote all of these things. What I did is I took the documentation that Geotab gives you, and I tell Claude, hey, read all of this documentation and create a skill that you can use later. So afterwards, instead of Claude having to figure out all of the documentation that it could ingest, we create the skill that allows it to do that kind of job. As you're working inside your company, start creating skills and sharing it in a common repository so everyone's Claude or wherever LLM starts behaving in dependable ways. Ace is our chatbot inside Geotab. Instead of navigating the report infrastructure that Geotab has, you can ask direct questions about your fleet. Tell me what were the safest vehicles driving yesterday. It's already inside Geotab. I don't need any extra tools. I don't need any extra coding. We give it one question. It figures out how to take the data out of the database, and it presents the data to you. In this demo database, it didn't have enough data to answer the question, so it came out empty. Now we're going to discuss how do we talk to Geotab. And the cool thing that we have now is the MCP server. I'm going to show you it working on my account. How many vehicles do I have? And now I'm not building an add-in. I'm having a conversation with Claude. But in this case, Claude knows how to talk to Geotab. And it knows, oh, I have 105 vehicles in my fleet. Can you tell me what was interesting about them yesterday? And that's a super open-ended question. What does interesting mean? I can let Claude figure out what that is. It starts a whole process. It can go in different paths. I can interact with it. But you can see like, okay, it knows how many I have. It counts them by type. It wants to get details about exceptions and trips. And I can let it work. The secret here is that Claude has connectors, Geotab MCP. It's configured, and it knows how to talk not only to one of my accounts, it has access to all of the accounts that I have access to. So if you have 10 accounts, because that's how you're setting up Geotab at your work, and you always had trouble going from MyGeotab 1 to MyGeotab 10, Claude can talk to all of them and compile reports and compare data and do everything. And you just manage your connectors here. MCP basically is the standard that not only Geotab, but everyone is using to connect tools to their LLMs. And these tools say, not only on Geotab, they also publish what kind of activities they can do. The Geotab MCP is publishing right now. It can decode VINs. It can download media file content. So if you have videos, it can bring a video out and let Claude analyze it, retrieve entities by type, query fleet data via Ace AI, count entities by type, the status of the Go focus, check emission compliance deadlines, get entity type schemas, hours of service rule sets, URLs to share a video, posted road speed limits. So if we know the speed limit, now you can ask Claude to get it out, supported directory types, search video and request, and it can also write and delete stuff. So you can ask it to delete your drivers, create drivers, rename all of your vehicles. It can pull those things off. Also, what's interesting here is you get to configure the kind of permissions you want to give Claude. So some of these tools, you want it to ask for approval. Some of these tools, you want to always allow. So Claude, don't interrupt me and ask me if I really want to do this. Just do it. Or you can just block these tools. You get to control on your side of how much skills that it has. Claude is working here with my vehicle counting query. It got a lot of data. It synthesized the fleet data, count entities by type, retrieve entities, sample of all data. It made the picture, and it reports that yesterday we had 1.1 million trip records across 105 HGVAC vehicles. This is the number of exceptions, faults, what was the... We had a lot of speeding. These were our offenders. This is an electrical one, so it was unplugged and restarted after all power was. None of the fault triggered. Okay, tell me about their level of charge. And I can have, thanks to MCP, I can have this full conversation and I can connect it to other tools. If I can connect my Claude to my calendar, I can ask it to look at the meetings I have tomorrow, who I'm meeting tomorrow, what those meetings are about, and to query Geotab, get the data that I need for that meeting, and even create slides for it. It has no problem doing things around tools. In this database, I do have EVs, and you can see in the conversation that it's able to tell me, now it's not part of an add-in, I could make this an add-in. I can make it a conversation of how well loaded they are. There are some that I should be watching that are only at 62, 56%. When that happened, through MCP, Claude is not only returning me a table with the data, it has an opinion. It's dividing things. It has an interpretation of what's happening. We can teach it how to interpret things better and what kind of results we want. And you can go way deeper and have conversations and transform this into skills. I can have similar questions where I go and I ask Claude via MCP to ask deeper questions to ACE. How would you ask this to ACE through MCP? And sometimes ACE can do things that we cannot do, like asking a question to the API is very, very fast if I want specific data, but when I want to run a huge query that goes through a lot of data, and I wanted to compare the results for the last month, for the last year, we can use Claude to decide when to ask questions to ACE, how to ask the questions to ACE, and how to work it through multiple steps. And MCP is not only a protocol for Claude to talk to Geotab, it's for Claude to talk to any other tool and everyone. Like, if you go to the MCP showcase for Claude, 1,000 other servers, because this is the standard. This is how you get to integrate all of the tools that you are working with. MCP is really the keyword we need to know to start connecting things. We can start augmenting what you get from Geotab by yourself, by leveraging partner tools in the marketplace. How what you are building, like whatever we're building here, can be something that lives in the marketplace later because you built something so cool that more people want. Hey, we have the marketplace to help others too. Are the tools that I'm showing off limited to Geotab data? No. I can connect it to a lot of other tools inside my company. If I'm using multiple providers, Claude here is not just your thing that builds for Geotab. We want to be part of wherever you're using Claude for, or ChatGPT or Gemini, you're using it to build other things. What we want to be is ready for your AI world to connect with Geotab. All of these ideas, it could be around your SAP, your Salesforce, and we want to be part of that flow.